Kia ora and welcome into the Full 90 podcast with Jacob Spoonley and Nick Hyde. We have A-League football back. Obviously, we left you at the second of our third World Cup 2010 South Africa pod series, but in the meantime, A-League football is back and we thought it'd be best to touch base with one of its absolute superstars. We're 180 minutes into Wellington Phoenix football. Our guest has probably seen there thinking I'm not really too concerned about that at the moment. But the Phoenix have played Sydney and Perth. Did all right against Sydney. There's a bit of a smirk I can see down the bottom left-hand corner of the screen at the moment. And then they came back against Perth. Hyde, thoughts on that before we go around the globe and do Kiwis around the grounds?
Well, I'm just stoked Gary Hooper is back to his goal-scoring ways. Big Sheffield Wednesday fan. Our season finally finished, and you're probably celebrating the Liverpool kind of parade at Anfield the other day. But it was fantastic to see some of our young Kiwis like McCowart playing so well and Hooper finishing well. Davila's back on form. So from a Phoenix point of view, things are looking very good to hopefully come runners-up and push our guest in the grand final in a few weeks' time.
That's on the cards. So looking quickly at it, Matt Garbett is just apparently going from strength to strength. Skins a Man City loanee and then sets up an own goal, which looks pretty good. Anything else to report from that neck of the woods, Hyde?
Yeah, the game you're mentioning, he must have been a bit disappointed they were 2-0 up and threw that lead away to end up with 2-2. The most recent match, which he played in, came off the bench to get the team back from being 2-0 down against Gothenburg to draw that 2-2. So, yeah, for a young guy, he is definitely making every post a winner. And like I mentioned in our last pod, attracting attention from Everton at this stage has to be seen as a good sign. Yeah. Over in the States, we've got Boxy and Bill doing very well. Yet to see Winston Reid off the bench for his side there as well. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, it's a weird one. He hasn't quite got his chance yet. But how about we bring it back to the A-League, Hyde?
Absolutely.
Yes. I know I say this every time, but legitimately really looking forward to hearing some stories from this guy because I feel like he was quite quiet growing up and we haven't heard all the best stuff coming out of him. But we do have Hyde, correct me here if I get this wrong, the 5th all-time goal scorer in the A-League history.
Well, of course I'll correct you that you're wrong. It's actually the 6th, but only 7 goals, I think, behind the 5th. So that's going to happen in the near future. So there you go.
All right. I grew up playing against fellow All Whites Dan Morgan and Jason Hicks, and my brother was in that team. So I've actually known this guy for a very, very long time and watched him play, and he's been a phenomenon for a while. 260 career games and counting, and he loves this. 7 assists so far this season, not 6, as Optus said. Welcome into the podcast, St. Pat's Town very own legend, Kosta Barbarouses. Kosta, what is good?
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be on here. I've seen a couple of the other boys on before, and I wanted to ask as well. He'll probably hate me for this, but Mully's accent, man, what's going on with that? I haven't spoken to him for a couple of years, but I don't know where he's from anymore.
You know what was weird is we had Ryan Thomas on earlier, Kost, and he started with a Dutch accent, and we had to pause it and be like, Ryan, this is a Kiwi audience, mate. You can just go back to the Te Puke accent, buddy.
Actually, on Ryan, have you seen his slug moustache lately? It's very Dutch.
Well, he's a dad, isn't he? He's about to have another one too, so he needs to put on the look. He's got a baby face, so he needs to do something.
Hey, if we rewind all the way back to as you were growing up, obviously you've got some Greek heritage there and playing for Olympic as you're growing up, Kosta. One of the things I've been keen to ask you is that through your career, you're a smaller or slighter player than most when it comes to this, and there was definitely a thought process through New Zealand football for a long time that you had to be 6'4", running around to play football. Did you ever suffer from some, I guess, naive coaches kind of saying to you, hey, you can't play in this game, it's going to be too physical, or we're going to just keep you in the B team or anything? Did you have any of that when you were growing up?
Yeah, a little bit. It wasn't, getting cut from teams or anything like that too bad. I think my ability always let me get away with that. But when I was growing up, there was in the system there was a lot of English coaches coming over to New Zealand, and that was the style back then too. So that was definitely a challenge for me. But like I said, I still managed to make all the age grade sort of stuff. But I think yeah, deep down they were looking for sort of a bigger sort of guy because I was playing centrally back then as well. I didn't move out wide as a winger until I guess 19, 20 years old when I moved to Brisbane. So it was a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
something that I think has been prevalent in New Zealand football up until really recently, where I can remember a coach saying to me that a centre back needs to be 6'3", and you're just thinking, well, what about the guy that's 6'1" or 5'10" that can actually play? Maybe give him a run. But so this is the next question: what age did you make your debut for Olympic?
Yeah, there's a bit of a story behind that. I don't know if you guys remember the preseason cup at Petone Park. I can't remember the name of the tournament anymore. But I was training with the reserve team. Brendan McIntyre was the coach. I was training the reserve team when I was about 11 years old. And we had the preseason tournament, and I actually played in one of the friendly games at 11. And Mick Waite was the national team coach at the time, and he saw me play that game. He was watching the tournament and obviously found out how young I was and told Olympic that I wasn't allowed to play in the games anymore. Not for the reasons we spoke about before, not being tall enough or whatever. It was just to protect me from getting hurt. So I always look back in that, and that's something that sticks with me because he had no sort of it's not like I was on his radar for the All Whites. I was 11 years old, so the chances are that I was going to be in contention for the All Whites and he would still be the head coach were probably small, and he still was looking after the younger sort of guys coming through. So 11 is the answer, but properly I would say 14,
It's a
15.
massive claim cost. Yeah. What's the second date? Sorry, mate.
Yeah, official games probably 14, 15. I mean, I was playing National League for Team Wellington at 15. I made my debut too, so pretty young.
So, Cost, you've got Mick Waite looking after you from about the age of 11. Was he somebody that had a big influence on your career?
Yeah, so Mick and Andy Hedge actually played a big part in my career. They always kept close tabs on me. We had federation teams, Spins, you remember. And Hedge was actually my coach for a couple of those years. Then I had an injury when I was 14. I missed about 10 months. I fractured my lower back.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How'd you do that?
Yeah. During training, the ball was coming sort of knee height to me, and I jumped out of the way to turn to run on because it was a through ball. And anyway, when I landed on the right side and sort of compacted, and anyway, missed a lot of football. And when I came back, Mick let me train with the under 20s federation team or something like that. It was a few years older than me, and I was just getting fit, and they invited me. Him and Hedger actually invited me to train with Team Wellington, and I was just turned 15, and I said yeah, of course, and so for that first a year or so, or 6 months before I actually played, Hedger would actually pick me up from a cafe just down the road from St. Pat's College about 3:40. We finished at 3:20. He'd pick me up at 3:40. We'd drive to Plymouth, I think it was, where we trained. So, about an hour away. I used to have to pick, put the nets up, do the drink bottles, and then train with the first team, do the same down. And, that for 15 years old, for, 3 times a week.
Someone of your height with those nets?
Yeah, I actually can't remember how I did it. I think there was a ladder. I don't know. I don't think there was anyone else helping me at the time. My brother came later on and helped a bit, but at the beginning,
Kosta Barbarouses can put up one net. Yeah, I can see how that works.
Yeah, about that. But yeah, I remember, I was getting home 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, 3 times a week, and I just look back now and I think that was so important for my getting to where I got to, and it's thanks to those guys for actually believing in me and giving me the chance, and I think when things are sort of not going well for me, in periods of my career, I just think back to, how much I sort of gave up, or, how hard I worked in those years, especially to make it as a footballer. And I have to thank Mick and Hedjo for that, because not a lot of kids get that opportunity.
Sure.
That actually leads me to the next question. Is that I get myself in hot water about this all the time, and I'm a great believer in players playing up a grade and stuff. I played senior football at 15. Jake, what was your debut age?
16.
16, and I feel that doesn't happen if you are still playing your own age group at 14 type of thing. You can't make that step up with the physicality. So it's interesting to hear, and obviously I think Jude Bellington, the player from Birmingham City who's just made that signing for Dortmund, is another classic case where age 9 he's in an academy playing upper grades. At 15 and 16 he's playing for Birmingham, scores. When he's 16, 18 he's off. And I guess Sarpreet's another example, and Kosta, you're the same. I mean, if you're not playing up those grades, you don't get pushed to where you need to get to. And saying that, when we kind of skip through and you're playing nationally, I think I probably played you when you were 15 at Team Wellington, when I was either at Hawke's Bay or Auckland City. But then you moved to the Phoenix, and would it be fair to say, without being rude, it kind of stagnated your career a little bit, because you probably didn't get as many games under your belt as an up-and-coming player would want?
Let me just jump in. You've got 20 games for the Phoenix in 3 years. I mean, that's not huge numbers there, Cost.
Yeah, so that was around the time I was an under-17 set up, and I was doing well. I was a captain, and we just qualified for the World Cup, and that sort of came around the same time that the Phoenix were coming into existence too. So obviously, I guess being one of the standout, younger players, Ricky wanted me to join. At the time, I had some opportunities maybe to go to the States for a scholarship there to study and play. There was a few when we went on tour. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure UCLA was one of them. Some good schools that, I can't remember, because to be honest, I didn't pay much interest to it, because I didn't see myself doing it. Not that I didn't enjoy schooling and stuff, and I did okay in school, but I thought that, ironically enough, maybe I thought that might slow my trajectory a little bit. So we did a few tours in the States and got some interest there from some colleges. There was some clubs in Chile. We went on tour there, and I did well. And I think Universidad Católica was one, and there was another one in France. After we had the qualifiers in Tahiti, Bordeaux invited me for to come and have a look and stuff. But I'd already committed to the Phoenix, and I actually asked if I could still go on the trial or the training for a couple of weeks, and I wasn't allowed to. So
how did Ricky respond to that? Because he wasn't the best at kind of giving certain players opportunities like that. There were certain players that did get them, but I imagine you as a youngster, there would have been a fairly blunt response.
Yeah, and that came literally a couple of weeks after I signed. So without even stepping foot on the training ground, because we were still getting the squad together, I asked to go on trial somewhere else. It didn't go down too well. But to answer your question properly, it probably did slow my career down a little bit. Same situation as a lot of young kids are in these days, especially as an attacking player. Even, if you're doing well or you're putting your best foot forward, if a foreign player leaves in your position the next season, there's going to be another one coming in, and whether you like it or not, you're starting at the bottom of the pecking order. So I just was sort of knew I needed to just keep fit and keep trying as hard as I could. And I did okay when I came on, started a few games, scored a couple of goals, and lucky enough that Ange is a football fanatic and watches every game, and saw something in me to sign me as a foreign player at 20 years old, who's just played 20 professional games for Brisbane.
Let's jump in there, mate, because Ange goes into Brisbane 2009-2010 season. He's got Danny Tiatu, Craig Moore. He's got Liam Reddy in goal. This is a Brisbane Roar side that's underperforming, and he just goes in and blows it up. And I want to get onto Ange in a second as a person, but how does he reach out, and what is it like being recruited and then ultimately having to pick between Phoenix offering you a 2-year deal and Brisbane Roar ultimately offering you a 3-year deal?
Yeah, so I had just spoken to an agent for probably the first time properly, because I signed the Phoenix in the room with Ricky and my dad. Really, no agent was involved. I got to speaking with an agent, and yeah, after a couple of weeks, he had told me Brisbane and Newcastle Jets actually were both interested in me. And I spoke with my dad, and he actually said that Ange was the coach of the under-20s Australia team, I think, a few years before that, when my brother George was in Auckland for a camp as well. And my dad said he loved the way Ange's team was playing.
that was when we went over there and we rolled Aussie, beat them twice, and that was Nathan Burns, Bruce Jete, Vidicic,
Yeah,
and I think George came on. Did he score in the 4-2 result?
possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just bring the podcast back to me, Kost. Back to you, though.
Yeah. No, and he just said, that he really liked the way Ange's team played. Whether my dad, preferred it because he's also a Greek guy as well, I don't know. But yeah, my mind was sort of made up. I'd been at the Phoenix for 3 years, and they offered me another 2-year deal, just verbally, really nothing on paper, but I couldn't stay another 2 years and hardly playing.
With that too, I think we had the World Cup around that time as well. How hard was it and where were you when you maybe got told that you were not going to be part of that travelling party? Did that have a bit of an impact on a decision that maybe it was time to cut ties with Wellington and New Zealand and start branching out on your own to really, blaze a trail for yourself?
That was a really sort of crazy couple of months. So Ricky had told me that they were interested in signing me again around the same time. Like I said, I was talking with Brisbane, and I decided to sign for Brisbane, and Ricky obviously caught wind of it and wasn't happy. And I had a bit of a chat with him, and pretty much just said, look, you've made your bed and now you're laying it, sort of thing. But then still a few weeks later, I think, or maybe a month or two later, invited me to the camp of the local players before the World Cup. The squad was going to be named first of all, and just a training camp to keep fit. So I was there. Spoons, I don't know if you were there too.
Yeah, I was there.
Did well at the camp. Just signed for another A-League team, and then I think some of the boys were obviously getting told face to face whether they made the squad or not. But then I just remember nobody said anything to me, and I had to listen to the announcement on the radio in my hotel room in Auckland. One of those little bedside radios that my name wasn't called out, and everyone pretty much went off. They left, and we were just sort of left to go back home after that. So, bit of.
Did anyone get in touch with you, mate?
No, no one, no. Literally, not even after the squad was named. I think I just had to make my way back to the airport and get on a flight to Wellington.
Let's clarify that. So you're in a hotel room, which is where the team's staying. I think it was the Spencer on Byron. Actually, I think we were roommates. No,
there was another time.
Is that another time? Okay.
Yeah.
So that could have been one of the reasons you were left off too. If you were one of Jacob's roommates, that would have been. Yeah,
they thought we were friends.
So you're in the hotel room where the team's staying, and you've been going back after trainings and having your meals, and you had to find out through a bedside radio that you weren't going to the 2010 World Cup.
Yeah, and I sort of had a feeling before, not really because of what Ricky said to me. I thought maybe that would just get pushed aside, but I think I saw BT, speaking to some people sort of quietly, but I still had hopes and thought I still had a good chance to make it. But did I deserve it? I hadn't played much football, up until then, but I still think I could have made that squad, and I was disappointed. But yeah, that move to Brisbane sparked my career, like you said, Heidi. So I don't regret it at all. It might have cost me a place at the World Cup, but it sort of launched my career.
Yeah, let's get into that, mate. So you get recruited by Ange, and obviously everyone knows Ange's background. He's a bit of a football savant, as you said. He loves everything about football. For those that haven't met him and see him in the media and on the sideline, he comes across as an incisive but stoic character. So that can come across as him being perceived as icy, I guess. Obviously, you can't lead a team of guys throughout the season and do what you did in 2010, 2011 without being warm and engaging. So what is he like behind closed doors with his players?
It is, to be honest, a little bit of tough love, especially to the younger guys. Can probably count the conversations we had throughout the year on one hand, a face-to-face. I think you just sort of knew where you stood with Ange. The tactics and the style of play were black and white. There's no in between. And if you weren't doing your job in the team come the weekend, it's there on the review. And if you're getting called out or singled out, 3 or 4 times in the meeting, there's a good chance you're not playing next week. So I like that. As a young guy, I just put my head down and worked hard. There's a few times where he absolutely just hammered me for things I did on the weekend or just that training.
Like what? What was an example that sticks in your memory?
Yeah, one training session, we were doing a passing drill. It was everything he did was to progress into the game. We'll do at the end of training, which is what we want to do on the weekend, right? And there was just a standard passing drill that we wanted to do that we did quite often, and it was shocking. The standard was shocking. The balls going everywhere, and so he put cones, a square, 10 by 10 sort of thing, and put guys on each cone, and he said, Kosta, you stand with whoever it was on the ball on the first cone, and he said to them to just pass it around the cones to touch, and for me to run around the cones, obviously to show that the ball moves faster than anyone. And he said that, he said, I did that to show you that the ball moves faster than you guys. And sorry guys, just a sec. He said, we did that to show that the ball moves faster, but also Kosta, you're giving the ball away too much in the session, so I put you there, sort of thing. And then once more, we're playing Perth at home, and I thought I did okay. I was in a role where you could, come inside, stay wide, come inside, get the ball, set up a goal, coming inside, actually, and we were 1-0 up at half time, and this was about halfway through the season, and he was just furious in the change room about how we were playing. Going through a couple guys, you doing this, blah, blah, blah. He said, Kosta, he's standing out here with the Fairies. He's scored 6 goals this year. He thinks he's a great player. And just,
No.
and you can take that one or two ways. I didn't want to take that as, he didn't like me and drop my head. I knew that he saw something in me. Lots of stories. One time I hadn't scored for a few weeks, and I could have, I was through on goal. I could have just squared it, and it was an open goal by a shot and got saved, and we were 2-1 up. He hooked me straight away, and then all week, every mistake I made, he was saying, how bad I was, and not in those words, much kinder words, and also saying, that's why you're not in the New Zealand team, blah, blah, blah. Shouting it out at training.
Don't hang out with Jacob Spoonley anymore.
Yeah, we've heard about this Spoonley fella.
Yeah.
Who's helping you with that? Are you getting, because you're, as long as I've known you, you've been quite close with your parents, or your dad in particular, George. So who are you calling upon for support? Because I imagine that would have been pretty tolling at times.
Yeah. I don't know, as a footballer, you do lean on your family a little bit, but the day-to-day stuff, if you're not with your family, it's sort of, you got to be sort of hope that you got a good mate there or something like that. I'll be honest, Rado Vidicic was assistant coach. He was very helpful to me, but be on my case every day at training, always on my side of the field when we were doing drills and little games in my ear, to the point where Shane Stefanuto had to tell him to calm down because it was too much. But it really helped. But yeah, in the team, aside from my family, I had Massimo Madoka, I was 19 and he was about 25, 26 at the time. And I'd hang out with him, most days, to be honest. And he was, a great mentor. It helped. He was a really good professional and just, an easy guy to talk to. And he was sort of, the main guy I'd come to stuff with. But to be honest, it wasn't that hard for me because I was, playing at the time. That makes it all better. It's tough when you're getting a hard time and you're not playing. So I could put up with it because I was playing and I knew that it was because they wanted me to get better.
We've actually got a story about Rado Vidicic. Friend of the pod, Adam Dickinson, he went to Sydney initially, and he reckons, I don't know if this is true, but this is what he reckons, and he doesn't usually tell lies about this sort of stuff. First day of training, Rado comes up to him, and he's like, "Oh, you're a strong guy, good, you can hold the ball up." The guy's like, "Yeah, cool." And then he pulls out his wallet cost, and then he pulls out a photo of Dario. He's like, "See, this is my son. You need to be like him. He's a good player." And then puts it back into the wallet and then goes into the back pocket. Is that true? Because it sounds ridiculous.
There's every way that it could be true. He's not.
Have you seen the photo?
I haven't seen Rado's wallet, to be honest. But it could be true. But I think if Rado, it wouldn't have been in a way, in any sort of bragging sort of way. It would have just been something he wanted to say. But what a guy! He's a great guy.
So that season at Brisbane is like just a massive breakout for you. You score a hatful of goals. Brisbane are playing an attractive attacking style. Whole bunch of us Phoenix fans are watching you rip up the A-League going, what the hell have we just done? And why is Kosta now playing with all the freedom in the world? But you're also coming from the point where you're actually in it. And where did this belief come from? Was it the fact that you were playing and goals are coming in, or was it the fact that Ange was such a kind of tough love type of coach that you were busting your balls to impress him every week? And even if you played out of your skin, he'd still go, "Yeah, that was okay, Kosta, but I expect more." And so you're like, "All right, I got to do more." Where did the confidence and the kind of freedom and I guess the love of that season come from?
It was a lot of things coming together at once, to be honest, because we're, sort of sharing my story. There was about another 15 cases of me in that Brisbane team. There was a bunch of guys that had, sort of their careers had stalled or they were just starting and they were very eager to make an impression. And we all just, you had Eric Pardaloo coming from maybe first or maybe in second division Scotland. A lot of guys. Ivan Franich just came from the NPL half a season before that. I could go on, but a lot
Luke
of guys
Bratton, Cost, Andrew Redmayne. The team's stacked. I mean, you've got Thomas Broich, who everyone knows.
Yeah, but even you could say Madoka and Mackay always had good names, but they hadn't done anything with the Brisbane Roar side, so they were desperate to have some success as well. Mitch Nichols, was another one, a lot of talent. So we were a bunch of guys that had a coach that demanded and expected a lot from us, and we didn't think twice, whether we were going to do what he wanted or not. We were just eager to play. First of all, me personally, I just wanted to play, and I think when we saw that things were coming into fruition, because the preseason games, even I think we had a few draws and things like that. We were still unsure how we were going to go when the season started. But I just wanted to make an impression. The hunger was there. I think you need that as a pro and as a young player especially. like I said, I sensed maybe I had a big of a chance to play there than I did at Wellington. Like I said to you earlier, I knew whatever I did, I wasn't going to play. A lot of the times that I played at Wellington was because there was probably 5 or 6 injuries or something like that. So yeah, the belief in myself was always there, but it was just a lot of things coming together, I guess.
That you said obviously you're impressed. You certainly impressed some people overseas too, because your form in Brisbane led to, firstly, what would be seen as, look, I think it was a $600,000 transfer to a Russian club who were winning their league at the time. So as a young man, that must have been eye-opening and no doubt difficult in Russia. But it led to one thing which I think you're probably really proud of, and that was your loan move to Greece. And not only that, and you can talk us through that, but playing in what is known as the derby of the eternal rivals, that's got to be right up there as a highlight, doesn't it?
The same ring as El Clasico, Cost.
The eternal rivals. It sounds like this
too,
game's been going since, Jesus
that
Christ was walking around there. These guys were kicking back in their green and red and white.
Yeah, that sounds too nice of a name for that derby as well. Yeah, so yeah, after the season at Brisbane, obviously things went well, and then the move to Russia came about, which, I think was sort of a strange one, because if you look now, maybe if a young Australian player or even a young Kiwi player scored, 12 goals in the league as a 19, just turned 20-year-old, would probably be going to, one of the top leagues as a young prospect, like Sapri has just done, But, whether that was, not having the right agent at the time or whatever, that was just the opportunity that was available to me. So I wanted to, to get over there, and it looked like they were putting a good project together there. Obviously, on the brink of promotion. And I, it was a bit weird. The season was in thirds there, and they had just done the first third, and I was there for the second and third part of that season, and we got promoted. I think I played 16 games, something like that, and things weren't going well. Terrible place to live, whatnot. They actually wanted me to sign my contract in Moscow, the prison and stuff like that, in the hotel where it was all beautiful, and I said, look, I want to see where I'm going to live. And then when we got there, I knew that's why they didn't want me to come there before I signed. So
I've just got visions of those kind of 10 of the same building all lined up, and you're going to stay in one of those with your washing hanging out the side.
Whatever you got in your mind, it's probably 5 times worse.
Yeah. Did you get a Skoda car on part of the deal? Was that in there?
I was in the Skoda every day, but I didn't get the car that was promised to me. Every taxi had a crack right through the windscreen. There was potholes every 2 meters on the road there. Look, it was an eye-opener as a 20-year-old. Unbelievable. A lot of things, if we had a game on Saturday at home, after training on Friday evening, we'd have to, have dinner at the training base and then stay at the training base until the game. So you'd have to spend the Thursday, Friday night at the training base, and you're not allowed to leave until after the game on Saturday. So, look, big eye opener. First time with massive time difference every day to call my family. It was literally a quick call in the morning before they went to bed, or a few hours at night when everyone had just finished work, sort of before I went to bed. So that was tough. But then, we went away with we had the Nations Cup, which I don't want to speak too much about because that was shocking.
The Solomon Islands trip, Costa?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
I won't ask you to blow the lid on that one. We'll say that for a later pod.
So the silver lining, though, was that a loan move gets agreed, isn't it?
Yeah. So originally, my agent came to me with a club in Cyprus, and I said, let's do it. I want
out of Russia. Cyprus will do.
Yeah, Cyprus will do. And a couple of days later in camp, I said, look, Cyprus is still on the table, but Panathinaikos is interested too. I said, let's
that's your boyhood dream club, isn't it?
Yeah. So
That's like Jacob signing for Liverpool or me getting a Sheffield Wednesday contract. It's massive.
Well, look, I wouldn't have minded signing for Liverpool either, but Panathinaikos would do. Yeah, look, dream come true. Me and my brother used to watch. My dad used to get VCR tapes of Panathinaikos games. I don't know from what year or where he got the tapes from, but we used to love it. Had the shirts all growing up, and dream come true. And we had a bit of a tough time that year. The club was struggling financially, and I think has been since then. But yeah, I still had a great time. The club was really professional. We had Champions League qualifiers. We ended up playing in the Europa League. Had a great year and would have stayed, and they wanted me to stay, but my Russian club wanted a transfer fee, which wasn't feasible for them at the time. So yeah, that's where that ended. But I definitely would have loved to stay a little bit longer.
So talk us through that one. What was on the cards there, mate? Because I can imagine, I'm in Liverpool on loan, having a great time of things, and then the Skoda-bearing Russian club wants a transfer fee and isn't playing ball to keep me at Liverpool, in your case. And actually say this for me properly, Panathinaikos, because that's what I say. How do you say it properly, Kosta?
It's close enough. Panathinaikos.
Beautiful. There we go.
Yeah.
We're all about culture.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Kosta's pronunciation. It's much better than yours.
So how did you feel basically being taken away from the North Pole, like this magical place for you that you wanted to stay at?
Yeah, it was tough. Even though in Greece I was owed about 6 or 7 months of my wages.
Oh, wow.
That was just the situation at the time. They wanted me to stay we had 4 coaches that year. Twice when we were on international duty, when I was on the plane back, the coach was sacked. So every time I come back from international duty, I'd come and there's a new coach. The last coach was a local coach. He liked me a lot, and I played every game under him. They called me in and wanted me to stay. They, said I needed to lower my wages, and I had agreed to lower my wages by, 25%. With the, obviously being owed a lot of the previous year too, and I was just desperate to stay. And I was actually in Greece for 10 weeks in the off season, waiting to see what's going to happen. And my Russian club obviously was slapping the transfer fee on me, and also not telling me when they want me to report back in for training, and not sorting out my visa either. So
sneaky, eh? So they don't want you back. But they want. Did you have any idea about how much they were asking?
No, I don't know. I would have been, in the couple 100,000. I'm guessing, maybe to get their money back. I don't know. So that was frustrating. It could have been worse spending 10 weeks in Greece, doing nothing. But look, I was pretty gutted. But then, I guess what came out of that was, a reunion with Ange at Victory, which, ended up being a big chunk of my career.
Jeez, before we go into that second, I guess, reacquaintance with Ange, you've got a bit of a habit now getting things thrown at you. So the Melbourne Victory fans have been throwing snakes at you at the start of this season. But what got thrown at you in the Greek derby?
Yeah, look, not even only at the derby, also just normal games. I remember one time, because we had an average year, I think we finished 3rd or 4th, which was shocking at the time for the club. It's top 2. We lost 2 on the bounce once, and when we lost an away game, we'd have to get the back exit in the airport because the fans would be waiting at the entry for us. So we'd have to get right off the tarmac on the bus and leave. And then after that, twice during training that week, about 50 to 100 fans just stormed our training ground, interrupted the session, and wanted to chat about what's going on.
So hold up, you've got a car park, and then you've got the training facility, and then it was like you changing rooms, maybe like a cafeteria.
And then you got like a hotel. There's rooms, everything in there. Yeah.
And then you got the training fields, presumably a bit further out. So these guys have just busted through a security gate, charged down, made their way to the training field and just stood in the middle of the training field, pointing fingers at people?
Well, there's a boom gate at the entry, and there's one security guard there. The poor guy's not gonna put up a fight, is he? He's just gonna let them through. So they got let through.
Probably joined in.
These guys are just lobbing stuffed Kiwis at you, saying "Go home." Are they? What are they doing?
I was in the back of these conversations. Luckily, I wasn't a senior player, so they wanted to speak to the Katagunis, Boom Song, Satiridis. They wanted to speak to the main guys.
Are you giving it the "I don't speak Greek" even though you do?
Yeah.
Are you just totally going?
Yeah, I was just saying I'm from New Zealand. I don't know what's going on. So yeah, that happened twice, and one time actually almost turned out being a fight. Boom Song pushed the fans' main guy. What do they call it? The kappa.
Yeah.
To massive guys shoving each other, and everyone breaking it up. Look, crazy stuff. One game we were losing, and our fans on the other side threw tear gas and just I don't know if you ever had tear gas thrown at you. You just start uncontrollably crying and eyes.
I'm keen to arrange that for the next pod for you, Jacob.
Yes.
Yeah, and going back to the derby, we pulled up. The entrance for the change rooms there. We sort of pulled up there. Above us is the walkway for the fans to get in, and it's only their fans because it's a away game. Our fans are not allowed at the ground. But above there was there's a crack probably about that big. Not a crack, just there was an opening.
A gap in the stadium. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've got a massive green bus. It's us coming. I was luckily one of the first ones off the bus. A few steps out of the entrance, and one of their fans threw a flashbang grenade right outside the bus. Yeah, and I was probably 10 meters away, and I was there for about 10 minutes. There was guys who were a meter or two away from where it exploded, and you couldn't hear anything for about 20 minutes before the game.
What?
Yeah.
So someone's launched this grenade down into the tunnel. You guys are walking through. You've just said they could not hear until the game. So you're still warming up, and you've got guys that are just walking around, can't communicate with each other, which is probably a good thing considering the environment, because it's so loud and there's no ability for you to do it anyway. How did you prepare for the game?
So look, we had just got there, so we still had 45 minutes before we started warming up. You get there a couple hours earlier, but yeah, in the change rooms for that first 10 to 20 minutes, everyone's ears were just your ears just ringing. You can't hear anything. Yeah, mental. And then you got a game to think about against your biggest rivals and the top team in the comp as well.
And so it's a flashbang, right? So let's focus on the flash part. How did that? I mean, I can't even think about. If we played up in the islands, you kind of get someone that every once in a while throws a stone or a bottle at you.
Yeah.
How were you? Were you shaken up off the back of this grenade going off next to you before a game?
To be honest, you just take it as it comes. Anything goes there, I'd been in Russia the year before that. I'd experienced, how the fans were before this game. Coming onto our training grounds, the tear gas, and at the end of the day, the fans' argument when they came to the training ground was that look, we make €500 a month and we spend €300 to come watch you guys play, and you're producing this, right? Which you get their point. Also, on the other side, it's not our fault too, and we're not trying to lose, but
and you're not getting paid.
You're not owed half a year's wages. But look,
so
you see both sides.
Less than the fans at that point.
Yeah.
That's unreal.
Yeah, but they love the club. They can't understand maybe some things that go on if you lose. You're watching from the stands. Some things look a lot easier than what they are on the field. You guys know that, and they get frustrated. And there, unfortunately, it's not like here where you might get yelled at or somebody right on something on Twitter, but it's their life. It's literally what they live for, watching us play on the weekend.
So I've been a fan's a profession. That's absolutely amazing.
Mm.
I think we might need to return to Melbourne, another big Greek city, but perhaps with a bit of a different experience for you there, Costa.
Yeah, I should point out before that the snakes from the Melbourne fans were actually toy snakes rather than people out there thinking that there were live snakes being thrown at Costa. So you do have a reunion with Ange, and you must have been looking forward to that. And again, you guys certainly rip it up again at Melbourne, and that must have been an awesome experience.
Yeah, it was great. Even being at Wellington and then obviously at Brisbane before that, I had no idea the following and the passion that the Victory fans had, and what they had as a club, their setup. I didn't know until I got there, and I guess that's what made me want to stay as long as I did. I did sign a 3-year deal originally and saw that out, and obviously 2 years after that. But the getting back working with Ange was pretty short-lived actually, because after I got there a couple of months, I think it was round 3, it was confirmed that he was taking over as the Socceroos job. So we didn't get to do all our work again, but I was glad that he got me there because, and then obviously worked with Kev for the better part of 5 years as well.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about Kev because earlier on the piece with our pod, we interviewed Paul Eiffel, who had played with Kevin Muscat over in Millwall for quite some time. And he basically alluded to the fact that Kev was a really nice guy off the pitch, and what you see on the pitch and what you see screaming and yelling and getting sent off and punching people and breaking legs and everything isn't the true man. Is that a fair comment?
Very hard to believe, Hyde. Yeah.
From someone that's I love him. The more characters like that in football, for me, the better. And you've got to have a few hard men out there. So anyway, I'd love to hear what Kosta has to say.
Yeah, he's very animated on the touchline. Even I played against Kev a couple of times when I was younger, and corners. I remember he was pinching and punching my ribs, and as a young kid, he's just trying to intimidate me, and he did a lot of that sort of stuff, but on the sideline, very animated, especially to the younger guys getting on their case. But outside of it, I think he's a very measured sort of guy. Thinks about what he's going to say pretty carefully. I'm talking in terms of preparing for games and meetings and how he deals with players. I didn't have a personal relationship with him where we were, he was my boss really. So we didn't see each other outside of the training rounds, but getting his point across. I think it's a tough job as a coach. You need to almost be spot on with what you say and when you say it. Otherwise, you risk losing a player for a week, a month, or losing the squad for a week. So he does a good job of that. He had a good sort of relationship with Carl Valeri, our captain. I think they would, work pretty closely together to get Kev's point across, what he wanted from the squad if we had a busy period coming up or an important time coming up. So very measured guy. Sort of took over from what Ange was doing and sort of evolved it a little bit down the years. Twice actually, we played without a number 9 the first year, and then Best came. And then my final year, we played with 2 strikers. So, we went through a lot together and had some good times too.
That false 9 system where you hit on one side and Archie on the other was a nightmare to deal with. You'd see that back fours just had no idea. They're like, we don't have anyone to mark. What do we do? So it was amazing. And it resulted in you basically cleaning up the 2014-2015 season, minor premiers, championship, and you take home a medal that I didn't even know existed, the Mark Viduka medal, which is pretty awesome, mate. How was that season for you, and coming back kind of to justify the move back to Australia?
The year before that, we did okay. We made the second round of playoffs. I think we finished 5th though in the normal season, which not good enough really with the players we had. We had actually a really good squad. So then, obviously, we made some good signings. Mathieu Delpierre, Barisha, Kafala came in as well. So he was spot on with the recruitment. And that was his first year, recruiting his own players. So he did really well, and he actually, probably the only time I spoke to Kev outside of training ground, he asked me for a coffee before training one day in pre-season, and just sort of told me that he needs me to, be not better, I guess, just to want more out of myself and to get the best out of myself, to push myself. And that season we had a great squad. We won the premiership. We were bumpy at times, but we got there in the end of the premiership, and then we had the playoffs, and we beat City 3-0 in the semi, and then Sydney 3-0 in the final. And I honestly didn't feel like there was any chance we were going to lose either of those games. It was the most comfortable final series I've been a part of. And then, the FFA Cup too, which started the pre-season after, and won that. And the Mark Viduka medal, I think it was the first time they handed it out, and it was just the player of the match for the final. So it was a good one to get, but I think it capped off a good year, winning all 3 domestic trophies.
Good one to get.
Yeah, he's pretty humble on that one. You win three domestic trophies.
Yeah, we won everything, and it was the most comfortable final series. Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah. And I got the medal for the best player. And
it was a small thing. Yeah.
Actually, I want to throw a random one in here for you, Kosta, because I asked Mossy this: if he was to be involved in a bar brawl, who would be his 3, I guess, ex-colleagues or current football colleagues? And I was wondering whether Muscat would be in there with you. But look, have a think about which 3 players would be backing you up, because by the sounds of that story you told us about Greece, you're probably running the other way. So you're going to need 3 players here to look after you. Who would those 3 be?
Costa, who are the other 2? I think is what Heidi's asking.
But guys, growing up in Wellington, you can't always run away as well. On the Saturday night in Courtney Place, sometimes you can't run.
Yeah,
Ivey's told us about the hospitality on Courtney Place, mate. Yeah, so let's hear it. So have you got a mate from Olympic that you might be pulling out here?
Oh, that far back. Barry Lewis would be one.
Oh, yes.
Sorry,
yes.
Can you just repeat that noise, Jacob? That was sensational.
That was a bit out there. But yeah, Barry Lewis.
Barry Lewis's nickname's the Chainsaw, so you can't go wrong with having a guy like that in your corner.
Not the first time his name's cropped up in this pod.
Yes. Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, I'll take Bazza. I'll take Bess as well. I don't know if his technique's great for fighting, but I know if he gets knocked down 10 times, he'll get up 10 times.
I reckon he's got a weapon on him somewhere as well, Cost.
He's got the crazy eye kind of thing going on too. Yeah, you wouldn't want him when he's lost it.
But the thing with Bess, I've roomed with Bess for a couple of years, is the nicest guy you ever meet off the field. You'd never get that impression on the field, but off the field, if you're his mate, he would run through brick walls for you, do anything for you. I'll take those 2. Who else would be?
Anyone from the All Whites
days?
Is there? I mean, Siggy's name gets thrown around quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't want to pick what everyone else has already picked. Then the goalkeepers too. We've had some units as well.
Oh yeah, mate. Yeah, I mean, Steph's a big lad. Yeah. Controversially, you're not really got any go-tos in terms of your Sydney squad at the moment. Oh wow!
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, no, I'm thinking
they're all footballers, Jacob. They're not into the thuggery. They're all footballers. You can see by the points they're racking up on the board.
Congratulations, Steve Corica, mate.
Look, if you're going as far back as Barry Lewis, I've played with some tough dudes, and I don't want to put somebody that's gonna, put that down a little bit. I'd say. Yeah, okay. I'd say Muskie. He'll be there. I think he'd be.
See, I knew it. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
It's all good.
I don't know these days, but in his prime, he'd be a good one to have on your side.
Barry Lewis versus Kevin Muscat would be, I reckon, a hell of a scrap. That would be dirty.
Yeah, that'd be to the death, I think.
Yeah.
I know we're kind of getting to the end of your career here with where we're going when you're getting up to.
I've got one. Sorry, Hyde. And this is I'll jump in. Jason Pine writes. Kosta Barbarouses. Jason Pine writes, was there any pressure being a marquee player and kind of associated with that? Why didn't it work out in Wellington your second time around?
Yeah, there wasn't any pressure apart from what I always put on myself. And to be honest, I think we had a pretty good squad that year on paper. But I just think, things didn't work out because I know some of the boys had been there 2-3 years. Same sort of thing had been going on, and maybe they weren't as desperate to achieve what we could have. Maybe we got maybe too comfortable, because with the squad we had, we should have done a lot better. We finished 7th and should have done a lot better. But yeah, that was I felt, signing at that time with obviously Guy coming over as well. I really felt like we could win a championship in Wellington, but didn't work that way. And pretty disappointed, because I wouldn't have liked anything better than winning some trophies with Wellington.
And the other thing is, every time you do come back, it seems the fans of the Phoenix have a special kind of place for you, and they don't like the fact that you left twice, I suppose. Does it feel a little bit unfair that you get singled out in that regard?
I think that's normal. I think if I had just left and been a bit part player somewhere else, they wouldn't care. I think it sort of shows that maybe they know it's going to be a tough game when I come back, and things like that. I don't, like I said, I've been through a lot worse than some of the grumblings and stuff like that happens here. So, I think, I don't want to say I take it as a compliment, because I think that sounds a little bit arrogant. But if I was just, win and was average and played off the bench here and there against the Phoenix, they wouldn't really care. But because I think I scored a few goals against him along the years and things like that, there's some hard feelings there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great that someone like yourself and Marco are able to take those spots in Aussie teams. And I mean, we happily import Aussies over here to play in the team. I can't see why we aren't, I guess, more proud of you guys and what you're doing, because when you originally go, you've got to take one of those import spots. So to me, that says you're valued. One of the things I want to touch on, though, is your goal scoring record in the A-League is fantastic. I think it's almost a goal every 3 games, which is why you're up there, the 6th greatest goal scorer in the A-League. However, your form for I think it's coming. Your form for the All Whites, it doesn't quite add on. Do you think that's in part, the games you play sometimes, those sub roles don't always work, or is it a style of play with the All Whites in the past not really suited the way you've been playing in the A-League? Because we don't seem to have got the best out of you for the All Whites that we've been seeing in the A-League.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And early on, I notched up a lot of games for the All Whites, from probably 2011 to about 2016, a lot of games, under Ricky and things like that. But I was playing. There was no reason why we didn't maybe have the best sort of style or team, but I always do think that I should have scored a lot more goals, especially against the island teams. If other people can do it, I think, you look at Smelty and Woodsy, all right, they're playing centrally up front, and I was playing sort of wider. But I think I should have scored a lot more goals during that time than I did. But that's just the way things work out. Sometimes I think I felt, at times more of a role player with the national teams than being a central part of, my club squad sometimes. And that's just the way it works out. You got to use your strengths. And like I said earlier on, it was, we had some big guys up front, and the point of the squad was to provide them with goal scoring opportunities. So but like I said, in saying that, I did definitely have opportunities to score more goals, and I didn't. And I'm still really proud of how many games I've played for the All Whites, and I'm so close to 50, and we haven't played in a while. And that 50 will be a big one. I roomed with Mikey McGlinchey, and when he hit the 50 mark, he was so happy, and I've been desperate to get there ever since as well.
Absolutely, mate. I want to touch on one moment in your All Whites career that for me I felt being overlooked, and it's a little bit bitter, and I want to know how close we were to actually advancing, I think is the right word. So we finished 0-0 against Peru, and we go across to Peru. And I think it's the first 30 seconds, ball goes through, you're breaking through on goal, you get pulled down. Is that a pen?
Yeah, it was the first 10 seconds. It was right from the kickoff. And it was actually something we worked on, to be fair. And yeah, I think it was like a square sort of ball, and I made a forward run, and it was just the first time around the corner. Yeah, I think if that's the 30th minute, the 40th minute, the ref might give that a pen. But because the first 10 seconds in in Peru's backyard, maybe he's not a strong enough personality to give a penalty, and yeah, that changes the game. Away goal. I was shocked. He didn't even bat an eyelid, sort of.
They didn't even show a replay,
Yeah,
Kosta.
yeah,
I was like, did no one else see this? That for me is a dead set pen, and they didn't even show a replay on the TV.
Yeah, and I think we were sort of. I appealed it for sure. I don't know if any of the other guys saw it that way, because also, to be fair, I think the ref was sort of there, and the player who pushed me was in front of me. Didn't have the best view, but in saying that, the liner's on the other side. Yeah, it's interesting you brought up. It gets sort of overlooked, but yeah, that definitely would have changed the look of the game. Maybe we wouldn't have had to look for a goal as much, and we're pretty solid at the back. But yeah, we were close. I think we gave away a couple of uncharacteristic goals that game too. From what we'd been building on. One from a set piece, two that we shouldn't be conceding. We're pretty strong in that area, but yeah, that's what it is. It's certainly better run than the games against Mexico, which were tough.
Absolutely. Well, look, I think last couple of questions, mate, and they are more kind of football-ish related. But we've had Michael Boxall on, massive friend of the pod. He's got a pretty outstanding sneaker collection. You are on IG all the time with what appears to be a brand new set of sneakers. Who are you backing in a sneaker off between you and Box?
Nah, I'll take him for sure.
Oh, we're gonna have to get numbers, I reckon. Do you reckon, Spooners? We'll get some numbers.
Yeah, I reckon you're gonna have to send me your best sneakers, and we'll put this to a vote, and we'll get some out of Boxy. What are you going with if you have to go with the best pair of sneakers?
Yeah, some off-white Jordan 1s. Yeah,
so casual. Look, it's so casual.
Look, it's one of my sort of passions. Football, sneakers. Look, and in terms of numbers, I've got a lot of sneakers, but I go for ones that I actually like and I want to wear. It's not. I don't just go buying whatever just to look.
You don't vacuum pack, mate.
No, but I've got four or five 200-litre containers in Melbourne just full of shoes that I couldn't bring with me, and I've got about 60 or so pairs here with me. So
what size are you, mate?
What size are you?
He's trying to get some free shoes.
Yeah. Yep. Whatever size you are, I'm not.
Yeah. I'll bring it back to the A-League. Obviously, this season is nearing completion, and yourselves are looking obviously good to go straight through to the playoffs, and everything's taken care of with that top spot. Who, in your opinion, is going to be your number one contender? Obviously, the Phoenix are having their best season for a long time, and for 80 minutes was a pretty ding-dong battle there. Melbourne City's been fairly consistent throughout the season as well, and even Newcastle has probably been one of the former sides in what could technically be called the second half of the season. Yeah. I mean, they were dead set useless at the start, and they put a run on that's possibly going to see them sneak into the playoffs. So, who, in your opinion, Kosta, is a team that you feel would probably be deserving of ending up in the final with you guys?
Yeah, I think Newcastle maybe left a little bit too late. They got to depend on other results now. But the two you mentioned, I think obviously you guys want to hear this, but I'm not saying it just because I think Wellington should be there. Finals football is very cruel at times, as you could see when we won in 2018. We finished fourth and we beat the top two teams to win the championship. But I think in terms of the last sort of 15, 20 rounds, Wellington have been, if we're the sort of benchmark, they've definitely been the next best. City, yeah, that's what they're dangerous too. In a one-off game, it'll be tough. Perth, you can't count Perth out. So I think one of those two really are the teams we need to worry about. But like I said, come up against any sort of team in finals, and anything can happen. It's funny when we finished fourth with Melbourne. I was, happy that we can have another chance to win something. But then when you are so far ahead, like we are now, and the thought of getting knocked out in one game, it's a pretty not scary. It's a funny thing to look at both sides of, for sure.
The perspective is it's ours to lose, and we don't want to lose it, as opposed to going out and trying to win it. And I think people don't often appreciate that sort of pressure that comes with being so far ahead at this stage of the season.
Well, if you win, people say you're expected to win. If you lose, they jump on you and it'll look bad. Yeah. So,
am I right in assuming that if you are part of this winning side, Kosta, you will have then won the A-League 4 times, which I think puts you as the all-time leading player in winning A-League titles as well. So if you could just notch 7 goals between now and the end of the season, get another 3 caps for the All Whites and win the A-League, that'd be a fairly good season, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'll take that. First season at a new club as well. And although, they're a great side before I got here too. So, I'll be happy with some silverware. I'm desperate to get to 50 All Whites games and then go on from there. And notch a few more goals for sure.
100%. Love to see that.
Look, I'm sort of lucky. I've been moved as a sort of central role the last couple of years, and my record was good as a winger, goal-scoring winger. But I think, centrally you get a lot more opportunities, and you can see now that it's sort of I'm aiming to try get double figures every year and then kick on from there. But that's my original goal. So, I've got a couple more to get to 10, and then see how many more I can get.
Absolutely. Well, Hyde, we might wrap things up there. We had a couple of questions, mate. Look, I think it's probably we had a couple of questions. We'll leave that for another podcast. What we would like to say is congratulations on having a daughter. Imagine that's giving you a lot of joy at the moment, if not some sleepless nights. So long may that continue. Hyde, anything that you'd like to finish off?
Yeah, Kosta, I just want to say, when I mentioned to my 11-year-old son that you were coming on the pod today, he was pretty stoked. And maybe it's something you don't pick up on by playing a large amount of your career in Australia. But, you've been a very successful player at a number of different clubs. You've had some overseas experiences, which has been great. And like you mentioned, nearly 50 caps for the All Whites. I think you have been a stellar representative for our game and our country. You've been extremely humble today on what you've achieved, but I'm sure at some stage in the near future, when you're as old as me, you probably put your feet up and have a beer with your family and actually think, man, I've achieved a hell of a lot in this game. So, mate, I just want to say, take my head off to you. Well done, and look forward to seeing the remaining years of your career, because I don't think you've in any way, shape or form come close to finishing.
Thanks, Hyde. That's kind words, man. Look, I think, like you said, I don't really. I think I do get a little bit overlooked in New Zealand, but obviously not. That's the sort of feeling I get. But I always try to be a good example to the young guys and girls. Whenever I can, especially in Melbourne, like I said, there's a big following. Tried to be a good sort of role model in my actions. I think on the field, they see you more. With social media and stuff, you see a lot of people putting a lot of crazy stuff on there, and I always just try to put things that I know young kids are looking at my stuff as well. So, it's very important to me, because I remember even, growing up in Wellington, even playing for Marima Rangers youth team, I used to look up to guys like Tim Butterfield and stuff like that, and they were just local players. So I know how lucky the kids are to actually have pro footballers that they can almost touch. So it's definitely a big deal for me, and I'm happy I'm making a good impression to the young kids.
Absolutely, mate. Well, that is a wonderful way to end the podcast. Look, I'm not going to say that Sydney's my second favourite team, but I will say that we will definitely be supporting you if the Phoenix unfortunately don't make it as far as we want them to in the final series. You've been a wonderful pod guest, mate, and I think I can still confirm this, that I'm still not sure what rhymes with Barbarouses. So on that note, we will wrap it up. Kosta Barbarouses, thank you very much for coming on, and for those listening at home, we will finish off the 3-part series for the World Cup. 2010 World Cup. Hyde, cheers, mate. We'll do this all again next week.
We will. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you, man. Cheers.